My name is Tyler Fornes, and I am one of the co-hosts of the Good, the Bad, and the Hungy AEW podcast here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. We take a broad scope approach to the world of All Elite Wrestling and the entire universe of Tony Khan. We talk about the big matches, the big stars, the promos, the storylines, and we also look at it from a big picture perspective. How are things going to change over the course of the next 10 years with AEW still in the picture? How are companies like WWE going to adapt and adjust to AEW? Are they going to be a similar way like they did with WCW in the late 1990s? Will there be a counterpunch? We talk about all of that and more on The Good, the Bad, and the Hungy every week on the Voice of Wrestling Network.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I am the host of the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, a show right here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we take a deep look at individual issues and stories that are going on in the wrestling world. Each episode is about a different topic, and we take a thorough and educated look at things ranging from current booking trends to breakdowns on individual performers and angles to investigations into different fan cultures across the industry. In addition, we keep a close eye on the wrestling media, and as a professional journalist, I bring a unique perspective to how current issues in wrestling are being covered and discussed through the wrestling media. We have a revolving series of guests from across wrestling punditry joining us on each episode, and we hope that you make the choice to give us a listen on wherever you get your podcast from.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Music of the Mat Remix on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. I'm your host, Andrew Rich, and this is the 9th anniversary show. I can't believe it. And usually on the anniversary show, I have on the show's co-founder and original co-host, Chris Maffei. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't make it. He's a bit too busy. And I'll reach out again later this year to get him on. Thankfully, though, I have just the man to step in and help out. He is a returning guest to the show, and the co-host of the Super J-Cast. It's my pal, Damon McDonald. Hello again, Damon.
Awesome to be back again. Always my favorite show. You call, I am there. So yes, I'm thrilled to be here. Wow, nine years. Jeez.
It's hard to believe. Yeah, 9 years old. It feels like yesterday and also 40 years ago at the same time that the show started. But yeah, 9 years and counting, man. It's which means next year is the 10-year anniversary. And that feels like a good goal to reach. Like if I can make it to 10, I can say, you know what, I at least made it that far. And whatever happens from there, if I want to stop or keep going, I at least have the decade under my belt, with a little break in there too. But yeah, the goal now is to reach 10 years, which I think I can do there, Damon.
Yeah, That's the hardest part. I mean, I gotta be honest, doing a show. I mean, obviously, the once pure cast is now the Super J cast, and it's the hardest part is just keep going, just show up. That's hard with when life gets in the way and all that. So, but congratulations, 9 years. I mean, seriously, how many podcasts come and go? But yet you stuck it out. So good on you, Andrew. Love it.
Thank you. And I'm glad you're here to celebrate with me, for sure. I'm always glad you're here on the show. And we are recording this a few weeks after Wrestle Kingdom 20, so a few weeks after the retirement of Hiroshi Tanahashi. So we are now in a post-Tanahashi world, which feels weird because, again, it feels like yesterday that I first watched him on, like, Google Video or whatever. But that's the nature of time. It catches up to all of us. And for someone like Tanahashi, who is just such an important part of not just, my wrestling fandom, but yours and so many other people, I thought his retirement match with Okada and the ceremony afterwards were just perfect and beautiful and really befitting someone of his stature and importance to pro wrestling, Damon.
Yeah, it's one, it's an amazing career. I had mentioned on our review show last week how, not only was he so instrumental in a lot of people getting into the product, but, just consider where he was when he started, where the company was. And, people try to make comparisons to, say, like a John Cena. And I just point out that the biggest difference is, the machine was already there for John Cena. All he had to do was just take the ball. Whereas Tanahashi, not only was his career in ring just one of the greatest of all time, like, just remember back New Japan and the state it was in, as it was going. It wasn't like Tanahashi walked in the front door and business started booming. It was a long grind. And what he was able to accomplish was pretty amazing. And yeah, I mean, even if you just, I want to watch my pro wrestling from bell to bell and I don't care about anything else, and that's cool. You still have one of the greatest of all time, and you can say that you lived through the vast majority of it. So, for a lot of people, it's their entrance path to not only New Japan but Japanese wrestling in general. Very similar to when I'm growing up, and you have your Ligers and you have your Mudas, and you have for a lot of people that was their entrance path. So I it's a sad day, but also a joyous day because I think, I think everyone. Look, nobody says a bad thing about Hiroshi Tanahashi. Let's be honest here. You might wag your finger at a couple of things, but overall, I mean, nobody's talking shit on Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were plenty of tears for the retirement, but they were happy tears, because Tanahashi got such a great send off, and really, there was some magic in the Dome that night because Tanahashi the past few years was on his last legs, literally, and knees and hips and everything else because he was toast. And the thought of him going 33 minutes with his body that way, it's nerve-wracking, but he pulled it off, man. Him and Okada once again showing why they are the best. And I'm glad he was able to go out like that at the top of his old man game under his own power and not be forced to retire because of injury or something like that. He was able to have that storybook ending. So yeah, I hope he enjoys his retirement and not taking bumps anymore because I know I would enjoy that if I were him, Damon.
Yeah, it's time. It's good that you recognize when it's time, but it's also, he did leave everything on the table. He left it all out in the ring. It's not like he left anything on the table. So, yeah, there is something magical about that Dome, and I don't know if it's the magic of the Dome or the magic of pharmaceuticals or whatever it is that gets him through that night. But he finds a way. Yeah, and we have a match for a lifetime and a career for a lifetime. So that for the joys of videotape and the joys of digital video production, we're able to have those things. So it was a great night, and we'll celebrate a little bit in a roundabout way here, I guess.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Because one of the many things that Tanahashi is known for is his amazing and luscious hair. Just an incredible mane on that guy. And that leads us to today's topic, a topic that I'm calling hair versus hair metal. The hair versus hair match, one of the long-standing stipulations in pro wrestling, especially in Lucha Libre, where the loser has to shave their head and suffer this big humiliation, which is a bit insulting to bald guys, to be honest with you. But in any event, that match type has inspired this latest pun-tastic episode, Hair versus Hair Metal, where we're going to play some of our favorite hair metal songs and groups, or glam metal, or pop metal, as it's also called. It's one of the defining subgenres of music for the 80s. That was certainly the heyday before the 90s came around and grunge and alt-rock took over the mainstream. But Damon, I know you're a big hair metal guy, which is funny because I know you're also a big fan of like 90s Britpop, which are two very different worlds. But when I thought of this topic, I thought of it with you in mind, Damon.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was probably, I was the skate punky, new wavy, wear my Smiths t-shirt, wear my Jesus Mary Chain shirt, and I was very out front with that, but hidden away in deep corners of Headbangers Ball, I was a fan, very quietly. Certainly wasn't walking around with my with a Skid Row t-shirt anytime soon, but yeah, I mean, underneath it all, it's fun. The hooks are tremendous, and you have a wide and vast collection of really great songs. I always say, and I still say to this day, I'd rather be in Poison than in Pearl Jam. That just looked like the greatest time ever. And for four guys to kind of try to take over the world with their quirky little pop songs. So, yeah. Again, it wasn't something that I was wearing on my sleeve, so to speak. But like I said, hidden in the corners, I had my Poison albums, my Ratt albums, my Kicks, LA Guns. So yeah, we'll get into it and we'll have some fun and we'll relive some memories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm more of a normie with hair metal. I don't go too deep with it, but like I said, it's going to be a fun time because that was the main goal of the genre, I believe, is to make heavy metal fun and bright and attractive, especially to women. Because as much as I love Sabbath and Deep Purple and the 70s metal era, it's not a very sexy kind of music. But with hair metal, yeah, you've still got the metal riffs and the drumming and all that, but now you've got this big pop element in there too, with the hooks and the power ballads. Every bad boy has his soft side, as the commercial went. It's largely centered in LA, the Sunset Strip, so sunshine and warm weather and those kind of vibes, as opposed to, dreary, gray, bombed out England. And you've also got the wild hair and makeup and tight-fitting clothes and spandex and all that, which looks ridiculous nowadays, but back then that was in. And you also have MTV coming along with Headbangers Ball and all these videos with smoking hot ladies in there and big arenas. It made heavy metal seem like the ultimate party. And that was a big part of its appeal, Damon.
It really was. And it was kind of like the US's answer. You mentioned all the bands, that again had more of a heavy and probably were, and I put in air quotes, more respected. But it was kind of like the U.S. answer to what glam is to the UK, where it was bright and it was flash and it was, something that, your parents would be aghast at you watching or listening to. And that's what I truly believe music should be. It should be a little bit dangerous. It should be a little bit, but also it should be fun. It really should be. And I feel like that's a common thread that goes through a lot of my music. I mean, even if you were to say, okay, oh, but you listen to the Smiths, but if you really listen to the Smiths, a lot of that, the lyrics where everyone says, oh, Morrissey's so depressed, it's tongue in cheek. It's quite hilarious, actually. And that's where I kind of think the campiness and the over the topness of what the 80s were, heavy metal kind of, or specifically hair metal, like just leaned into that. And it just leaned into it hard as much as Duran Duran sailing around on yachts in suits were, you know?
I was thinking about this too. I never realized there are connections you can make between hair metal and wrestling. A lot of focus on aesthetic and looks, big in the 80s, and plenty of drugs and alcohol to go around. I mean, there are just an uncountable amount of stories where guys are just bombed out, loaded on anything and everything. I read a couple books last year. One was called Nothing But a Good Time, which was an oral history of the 80s hard rock hair metal scene. And the other was Duff McKagan's memoir, It's So Easy, and Other Lies. And the stories in those two books alone will make you question how more of those guys aren't dead.
Right.
Because there are a bunch of guys who are no longer with us, sadly, because of drugs or alcohol, like Janie Lane from Warrant, or Steve Clark from Def Leppard, or Kevin DuBrow from Quiet Riot. But there are plenty of other guys who ingested quite a lot of bad things, and they're still with us. It's amazing, Damon.
It is, and I hate to sit here and tell you it was a different time, but it was a different time, right? And you didn't want to work in an office. You didn't want to work, in a cubicle or on a factory line or whatever. And yes, it was excess, but like that, those were kind of like what you signed up for. I want to say, and you had to lean into that lifestyle. I mean, I read Nikki Sixx's book and a Van Halen biography, and it was, and here's the thing too. It was just, I don't want to say it was socially acceptable, but it almost kind of was, where it was like cocaine was like such a party drug that it was the equivalent of like doing shots in a lot of social circles. So you're rich, you're making money, you're living that lifestyle, the girls galore, and I hate to say it, but the drugs kind of all go hand in hand, and that's, as they say on Airplane, they bought their tickets, they knew what they were doing. I say, let them crash.
Well, in that case, let's get to the music here. We have 8 songs each and a play-out song at the end. Like usual, Damon does not know my picks ahead of time. He loves his surprises. And I try to get a nice mix of rockers and power ballads on my list here. But Damon, you are the guest. You'll go first. What's your first pick?
Love it. It's always exciting. I always get excited to hear your picks. All right. So I'm going to start off with probably my favorite, if not my favorite, at least in the top 3 when it comes to hair metal songs. This was Poison's first single that they released. So it wasn't Talk Dirty to me. And when I saw this video, I was just mesmerized by two things. One, again, it was a party, and I was like, "Oh my God, I would do anything." I'm a 13-year-old guy. I'm like, that would be amazing to have an experience like they're living in this video. And 2 was CC DeVille, who was like the heavy metal. At first, when I first saw the video, I promise you, I thought it was Nick Rhodes of Duran Duran, and I was like, what is he doing? How's he? And then obviously it wasn't. Anyway, first up, it's Poison, and it's their first single off of, if I'm not mistaken, Look What the Cat Dragged In. It's Cry Tough.
Little did we know
what I love about that, Andrew, is that breakdown. That I knew it and you knew it. That little breakdown. When I first heard it, I was just like, oh my god, yes, yes. And there's typical themes, it's the we're the blue collar couple and we're gonna make it somehow, and let's be honest here, Oasis did the same thing, in a different way, obviously, but yeah, I back in the day when it was the Pure cast and the host at the time, Colin Miller, like just periodically we would just send that video to each other. It was just like one of our things, and to this day, still love it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a normie with this stuff, so my short list was pretty much all of the big names, including Poison, and I had Unskinny Bop as my Poison pick. They really are like the quintessential glam metal band. I mean, the look alone is unmistakable. You look at the album cover, look what the cat dragged in, and it's just their four faces, and it's like, who are these ladies? But yeah, the song checks the boxes too. It's about a relationship, the struggles, trying to make it on the streets, and you got to be tough, but also sensitive. And that's the core essence of hair metal. It's being a rocker who can still have feelings, Damon.
Right, with your eyes at the sky, your feet on the ground, and keep reaching for the stars, as some old dope used to say every week.
And the other thing, too, about Poison, and this is true for so many bands, but their peak was fairly condensed to just the first couple albums. Because this first album would eventually go to number 3 on the Billboard charts. It's got Talk Dirty to Me, it's got I Want Action. The next album is Open Up and Say Ah, which has Nothing But a Good Time and Every Rose Has Its Thorn. That went to number 2. Flesh and Blood was also number 2. And after that is when we get deeper into the 90s, and that's when the drop-off happens. And Poison would keep going on and off afterwards. But they burned really bright for like 4 years or so. And then they are literally out of fashion, Damon.
Yeah, and they tried. Like, one of the things that I hated about this was, they would come out and, be presented as they were in their first album and even their second album. But then they turn into like wannabe cowboys. They turn into the friggin' Bob Seger, and it's like, come on, boys, what are you doing? And Americana and like they're just an overblown country act almost. But yeah, I mean, they had to do something because they knew the handwriting was on the wall with the impending wave from Seattle.
Yeah, I imagine the people who would watch, VH1 back in the 2000s, they know Bret Michaels more as cowboy hat wearing guy from Rock of Love more than Poison hair metal guy, perhaps. So
probably
just the way it goes. Yeah. But all right, my first pick is a band I mentioned earlier. It's Quiet Riot,
right,
with the late Kevin Dubrow and also the late Frankie Banali. R.I.P. to them both. This is a band that had the first metal album to go number 1 in the States. This album knocked Synchronicity out of the top spot. The album is Metal Health from '83, and this is the song Metal Health, Bang Your Head.
Driver, Mama says that I never mind her. Got no brains, I'm insane. The teacher says that I'm one big brain. I'm like a laser.
Yeah, I love that song. I first heard it in a wrestling video game called Showdown Legends of Wrestling. And then a few years later, it was in the movie The Wrestler. Because it's perfect for wrestling. I mean, it's loud, it's anthemic, and it's heavy. I mean, that's the important thing to remember about hair metal, is that it's still metal. And when you hear that riff, that ba 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 ba, it's undeniably metal as hell. And it has a good message too about, metalheads ignoring the criticisms of the genre and just celebrating the music and celebrating the metal community. So, this album had this song and also had another big hit for the band, which was their cover of Come On Feel the Noise by Slade, which was also, again, like you said, Damon, the glam rock of the 70s coming around again to the glam metal of the 80s there, Damon.
Yeah. 6th grade, I think I was in. You cannot underestimate how huge that album was. Like, everyone had to have that album. Everyone. In 6th grade, I had the coolest teacher to this day that I ever had, Guy Groff, Mr. Groff. And he would let us play 45s records. And each month he would give away tasks. So Johnny would be the guy who cleaned the chalkboard, and this person would be the person who did. And the most coveted prize was being the DJ, at least for me. We had a class. We had a class president. We had a class vice president and all that. And we had a class song. And originally it was some song by New Edition. But when this album came out, we demanded that we had a revote. And that song became our class song because it was so massive. Like, you have no idea. And again, it was like a sparkler in the sense of it was shined as bright as possible and then kind of faded out. But they were huge for probably a year. Probably a year they were massive, and everyone had to have that album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the earlier songs on the episode because everyone thinks of the 80s when they think of hair metal. But the peak was, late 80s, 86, 89, 90, around then. So Quiet Riot are a band that helped usher in the era. They had this massive, massive hit album, but they didn't follow through to the genre's peak later on in the decade. Like this album, it's their high watermark. It's all downhill from there. Yeah. Like Kevin Dubrow would eventually get kicked out of the band, and they broke up before the decade was even over.
Well, they kept doing covers. So again, Come On Feel the Noise being the Slade cover that they were most famous for. But then they did another Slade cover of Mama, We're All Crazy Now. And they released that as the single of one of the albums. And it was just like, I think people were just like, what? Like, are you a cover band? And it just kind of just faded away.
Mm-hmm. They have a wild story for sure that is way too long to tell here because they started out as Randy Rhoads' band before he was with Ozzy, and later on when they reunited with Kevin Dubrow, and then Kevin Dubrow suddenly dies, and then they try to keep going with various lead singers, and then Frankie Banali died a few years ago. It's again a wild story. There's a documentary about them that came out about 10 years ago or so. That's pretty good, But yeah, Quiet Riot, burning bright there for sure. But all right, Damon, what's your next pick there?
All right, so we're again staying in LA. This was like, I wanted to be this lead singer so bad. I thought he was the coolest guy on planet Earth for a long time, and I kind of still do. There's just something about his voice and the way that he looked and his style and. Stephen Piercy is his name. The band is Ratt. I really liked them a lot. And I recently they were touring and I had tickets and I was going alone. Nobody would go with me to go see Ratt. But then I wound up pre-gaming with my friend and I wound up just staying at the bar. I never went to the show, which is a major regret. But this is Ratt. I'm not doing the big single. I'm not doing Round and Round. We're going to go with You're in Love.
You make it live in love and hot. You spend your life
You know, Andrew, you fall in love for many different reasons. And one of the reasons I fell in love with my wife is her just weird, offbeat sense of humor. And every once in a while, I'll have a little Spotify playlist, and this song might be in there. And she always sings, and to this day, I'll never think of it any other way. You're in love. She's a keeper. But yes, You're in Love is her go-to. But yeah, I love Ratt. I love Stephen Piercy. Yeah, what can I say? And I think, who is it? Is it Warren D?
Warren D. Martini. Yeah.
I mean, he goes down as one of the best. I mean, listen, if you're doing hair metal in the 80s, you better have a lead guitarist who can shred. He can shred.
Yeah, my Ratt knowledge is basically limited to just Round and Round, which was their biggest hit. But this is good too. I read an interview with Stephen Piercy where he described this song as a danger zone love song, which fits with the whole struck by lightning motif, I suppose. I want to bring up the album cover, because another common trope of hair metal was the album cover with the sexy woman on it.
Crawling it out.
Yeah. Out of the Cellar has Tony Katane on it. And in this case, it's Playboy model Marianne Gravatt, which is a smart move, because if you want to appeal to horny young men and entice them to buy your albums, put a hot lady on the cover. It's a damn good strategy there, Damon.
Yeah, I would say it is a common theme and a common thread through not only the videos, the album covers, wherever you can pop in a model of whatever, like however deep you want to get into modeling. You check one on there, and you'll raise some eyebrows and get some looks for sure.
Mm-hmm. You know how there are times when there are two versions of a band on tour because of some rights issue?
Yes.
Two versions of Yes, two versions of Queensryche, two versions
She
of
Loves
Sweet.
Jezebel. Yeah.
There were two versions of Ratt, and it happened twice.
Wow.
Once in the early 2000s with Stephen Piercy's version and the rest of the band's version, and then again in the 2010s with Warren D. Martini's version and Bobby Blotzer's version. And now there are no versions of Ratt out there. But it's one thing when it's like, a big band that's had a super long career. But when it's a band like Ratt, you have to kind of, check a little bit at this kind of thing.
Right. What are you fighting over? Scraps. I mean, it is. I know. It does. There's the kind of things. I mean, they really must not get along, and to not only just be like, all right, forget it, I don't care, I don't want to talk to you anymore, but then to tour two separate. It's preposterous. But yeah, it has happened many times. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, my next pick. This is an American band with a Danish lead singer. This band is called White Lion. And I wanted to highlight the guitar solo on this particular song by the guitar player Vito Bratta. This is off of the album Pride, and this song is called Wait.
I love your picks. I tell you what, in the 80s, if you were in that scene, you had in your guitarist, you better know how to tap and you better know how to pick slide. Like, it is amazing. But yeah, I'm sitting there singing along to it. So I'm sorry, I'm stealing your thunder. Please.
I was going to say, don't let the hair fool you. I mean, there were some really, really damn talented musicians in this era. And Vito Bratta is one of them. Like him, Nuno Betancourt from Extreme. Like, these guys are guitar players. And here with that solo, it's so good. And White Lion, they had their hits. Wait is a top 10 hit. When the Children Cry, which is number 3. Little Fighter. Their version of Radar Love is pretty good too. They had their moment, but I imagine most people don't really consider the individual talent involved in a lot of these bands because they're just a hair metal band. Like, they're just lumped in that big glob, I suppose, Damon.
Right. And I feel like every genre has that. Yes, when things break and it's like the first bands, of course, look, record companies are there to make money, right? So they're looking for the next whatever, Motley Crue or the next whatever. And people sometimes feel, oh, well, I'm getting the dollar store version of whatever. But yeah, if you're being fair, I defy anyone to, if you're a guitar player, play that. Let's see, put your money where your mouth is. And some of the best musicianship can be found in 80s hair metal, but unfortunately it just gets lobbed into one big pile, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And the sad thing as well is that Vito Bratta, he hasn't been in the public eye in like over 30 years. White Lion broke up in 91 or so, and since then he hasn't made any new music. He hasn't performed live in decades. He's rarely done interviews or made public appearances. I know he had a wrist injury too, which affected his guitar playing. He isn't part of that world anymore. And Mike Tramp, the lead singer, has since reformed White Lion, but it's not the same without Vito, Damon.
I know, I hear you. I think everybody has a favorite band where maybe a band member has left, and it's just not the same. So I hear you on that one. I think that goes through all genres.
Mm-hmm. But all right, Damon, what's your next pick?
So then my next two are, I don't want to say weird, not to say everything wasn't already, but it's weird in the sense that this is not a band or a song that I really followed or got into back in the day. I actually discovered this band via, of all places, Hair Nation on Sirius. And I'm like, what is it? Like, how it gives you the pad data. So, you can see the song and the artist. And I was like, oh. And, I remember taking a screenshot of it on my phone. I just just kind of taking a picture of the dashboard. And then Spotifying it. And I'm like, oh, I love this song. So I don't know a lot about its history. I don't know a lot about LA Guns. But I do know that this is a recent ad, probably in the past 5 years. This is LA Guns, and this is Never Enough. Look, it's 80s hair metal. So, yes, it's going to be hooky as all hell. But I absolutely love that chorus. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just driving and I'm, in a song just captures you. And I was like, what the hell is that? I've never heard this before in my life. And here we are. To this day, it's probably easily, well, let's put it this way. It's in my list of songs here on Music of the Mat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this rocked. I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan, but I've never really explored LA Guns, which is one of the bands that became Guns N' Roses. It was them and Hollywood Rose. They merged to form Guns N' Roses, and then Tracy Guns left to reform LA Guns. And they themselves had a bit of success. Like, obviously, they were vastly overshadowed by Guns N' Roses and Appetite for Destruction and just how big that band got. But LA Guns made the charts, and their first couple of albums have gotten a lot of praise over the years. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to listen to some more LA Guns going forward.
I just remember, yeah, I mean, thanks. I just remember this one dude in high school. He would always, I think it was the only shirt he wore. Like, he must have worn that shirt at least 3 times a week. Like, people would only see him in an LA Guns t-shirt. So out there, if you're listening, Mark, you're recognized for your passion for LA Guns.
Well, it's also another case of multiple versions of a band. There was an LA Guns with Tracy and an LA Guns with Phil Lewis, the singer. And then Tracy and Phil made up and reunited. And then the drummer, Steve Riley, made his own LA Guns a few years later, before he died. So, yeah, too many guns, Damon. It's a big problem of society. Just way too many guns out there. So.
Way too many guns. I agree. That's like, it's just ludicrous. There's just not enough money to go around, kids. I'm sorry. All right, so LA Guns. You are, yeah. You know what? Here's the thing, though. Unfortunately, I haven't gone deeper. I've pretty much stayed here with that one song. But yeah, I love that song.
All right, so good. Actually, a good segue here, because most of my picks are bands where I know a bunch of their songs, but a few of them I only know the one song. But I really like that song. This is an example of that. This is a band from Queens with one of those double names. There's Duran Duran, there's Mr. Mister, there's Talk Talk, and then there's Danger Danger.
Oh.
And this song is off of their self-titled debut album from '89. This song is called Rock America. So I have to thank Chris Jericho for knowing this song, because this was his theme when he was with Lance Storm in Smoky Mountain as the Thrill Seekers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And this song, this song is as cheesy as the gimmick is. Out on the back streets, I hear a heartbeat, we're gonna rock America. They try to put us down, say we're no good because our music's loud. I guess they just forgot when they were young. Oh, and there was just one king. Elvis was his name, and he sure could swing. The Beach Boys had him singing, fun, fun, fun. Like, these are not badass lyrics at all. It's kind of similar to Metal Health, actually. You know, we got to band together under the banner of rock and roll, except it's brighter and more Journey-esque, I think. But yeah. I love it. I genuinely love it. I love the layered vocals in the chorus and the keyboards. I love my cheese, Damon. I can't lie.
No doubt. And here's the thing, too. Like, we talked about guitarists and how every one of these bands had just a guitarist who legitimately were incredible. But the singing, like, like these guys can hit notes and the range of their voice. Like this is pre-auto tune, kids. And they just had a set of pipes. And again, look, are you going to fall in love with everything? No, of course not. But like, there's a reason why those hair metal ballads you still sing to this day, because they were talented. And the singers kind of fall right in line with that. Like the set of pipes on that dude is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did have a hit single, "Bang Bang."
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem was their debut album came out in '89, like right as the peak is ending. That's got to be tough to just barely miss the sweet spot. Like Quiet Riot was a little too early. Danger Danger was a little too late, Damon.
I know. They were probably doing like Toto covers back in '83, and they're like, all right, we're turning metal. We got to make some money. So, but yeah, I hear you. Like it is amazing how quickly it just like, boop, done. Like Nirvana hit and Pearl Jam hit and Stone Temple Pilots hit and all of that. And it was just like, oh, okay, we're done. We're done with these guys.
Mm-hmm. It's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But all right, Damon, what you got next?
Again, another Hair Nation. Once again, coming through. This is a very similar scenario with LA Guns. Again, I don't know much about the band. I don't know much about their history. I don't know much about any other song except this song. As I'm driving, like I was like, this is great. So this is a band called Kix, Kix. Of course, we got to misspell it intentionally. And the song is it's called Blood. Very, very popular at that time was that kind of fingernails across the chalkboard vocals, right? Cinderella had that vocal style. Kix had that vocal style. For whatever reason, that became, at least a little while anyway, very fashionable to have that kind of screechy, scream along vocal style. And Kix, I think that song's killer.
Yeah, I love their cereal. But I got Def Leppard vibes from this song, who will actually play in a little bit here. But just the overall sound reminded me of Def Leppard. But yeah, Kix is another one where I've heard the name. I know they've got that one hit, Don't Close Your Eyes, the power ballad, naturally. But beyond that, I don't really know them. But I did note that this is their fourth album, and a lot of the bands on this episode, a lot of them had either their biggest hit or one of their biggest hits on their debut album. Like Ratt or Poison, like those first albums were the jumping off point, and then it maybe trailed off later on. But in the case of Kix, it took 4 albums before they got a hit, because Don't Close Your Eyes is on this same album. There's no guarantee that you're going to be big from the get-go. Sometimes it might just take a while there, Damon.
Yeah, and I'm sure that their sound probably morphed a little bit. Again, I haven't gone deep into the Kix discography. And I will also say, too, being a good-looking guy in a pair of tight spandex helped. You know, if we're talking videos here, so that is a huge selling point. I don't know what the boys from Kicks look like, but they might be working in a ditch somewhere, right?
Maybe I don't know, but a band like Kicks, it just makes you think like any other genre. You have the super duper big bands at the top, like Motley Crue or Poison, who have all these hits, but there's not like that many of them. But you go a few rungs down the ladder, and you've got dozens and dozens of bands that maybe had one or two hits, and that's really it, like Kicks or Faster Pussycat, Danger Danger, Autograph, the list goes on and on, Damon.
Autograph. Enough's enough. There's. I mean, look, not everybody can be the home run hitter. We need people to bunt too. So, I mean, it is a well-rounded genre for those who want to dig deep.
Mm-hmm. All right, my next pick. This is a band from your neck of the woods, Damon, from the suburbs of Philly. You name dropped them a few minutes ago. It's Cinderella, and this is off of their debut album, Night Songs. This is the big ballad, one of their big ballads anyway. This is Nobody's Fool. So a couple things. This album is produced by a guy named Andy Johns, who started as an engineer for a few bands you may have heard of: Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, Jethro Tull, Free, Rod Stewart, Mott the Hoople. He also produced Marquee Moon by Television, which is one of the most important albums ever for punk rock and art rock and indie and a bunch of other genres. So there's your Cinderella television connection there. The other thing is Tom Kiefer's voice. His voice is like a mix between Klaus Meine from Scorpions and Brian Johnson from AC/DC. Like he really puts a lot of just caustic rust into his vocals. It really portrays the pretty boy makeup of the band, Damon.
Yeah. I mean, being from this area, everybody rooted for him. They played every club. There was a club that was, kind of, a little bit. You could walk to it from high school. The Pennant, and they would play the Pennant. And then when they were starting to get like MTV exposure, and then they just blew up, and they completely forgot where they came from. But yeah, they were pretty massive. They were pretty massive, especially around here. Like we had them and Brittany Fox and even to some small degree like Poison, even though they were more like Allentown based. But yeah, I mean, at one point this area was buzzing with all these hair metal bands that would from here and would play locally and kind of take off, and they rode the crest. They made the most of it.
I imagine when one band from your area makes it big, 20 more see that and go, we can do it too. We can make it big just like them. So I'm sure that was the case. But yeah, Cinderella, it's so interesting. They started out as a glam metal band, hair metal band, but then they transitioned into a blues rock band. Right. Like, they were showing signs of that even when they were still in their glam phase. And by the third album in 1990, they had stripped down their sound, which a bunch of bands did. A lot of bands grew out of their hair metal phase and became something else. Like, famously, Pantera started as a glam metal band. The original version of Alice in Chains was glam metal. And later on, I'll play a certain band from New Jersey that also started out as glam metal before changing their ways. But yeah, that's some Cinderella for you, Damon.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they were a big time, right place, right time kind of band. But yeah, they were always around. I mean, it was like probably like them and like when, with me growing up, it was them and like the Hooters, who were completely different musical genre, but they were like the two big Philly bands that, you know, even if you weren't massive fans of their sound, you rooted for them because they were from the area.
Mm-hmm. All right, what's your next pick there, Damon?
So, I talk a lot about, like, you don't understand how big these bands were at the time. So, Def Leppard back in the early 80s was massive. And Pyromania, that album, launched them. And MTV and, you know, Photograph and Rock of Ages and Foolin' and all of that. Like, that was their rocket, right? That made them, you know, sell out arenas and stadiums. But before that, they had an album, High and Dry, which was kind of like, ooh, everybody kind of like, wait a minute, we got something here. And then the follow-up was Pyromania. This was a big hit on like rock stations. Before rock stations, you know, when they were still playing, you know, Zeppelin and Stones and stuff, like this was a song that snuck in and people loved it. Again, it is Def Leppard. It is off of High and Dry, and it is Bringing On the Heartbreak. Joe Elliott, man, what a voice that dude has. And was this was if I'm not mistaken, Mutt Lange produced, because he produced Pyromania. And for the kids, Mutt Lange was like this producer who was like just would destroy bands because they would do 900 takes to get perfection, or what he wanted perfection to sound like. And I remember reading about not only this album, but Pyromania, that the band just like wanting to kill him because of the amount of takes that they would have to do on every single song. But I like, again, I just look, bands kind of become caricatures of themselves. And again, this is Def Leppard at this band. Here we go. This band could be somebody. And obviously they wound up being a lot of somebody.
Yeah, I love Def Leppard. They were also on my short list. I was going to pick Stage Fright, which is a great deep cut from Pyromania.
Yes.
And they're one of those bands that really lived in multiple worlds, because they started out as, you know, a pretty straightforward hard rock and metal band, you know, part of the new wave of British heavy metal. But with this album, High and Dry, yeah, they link up with Mutt Lange as producer, and he helps give them more of a pop metal, glam metal sound, which works out pretty well for them because Pyromania is a gigantic hit. And then Hysteria is an even bigger hit. It's just a monster of an album. But they never looked like a hair metal band. They never went with that kind of aesthetic. They always looked like your standard rock stars with long hair and leather pants. Same with a band like Tesla. I love Tesla, but I didn't put them on my list because I don't consider them to be a hair metal band. They're a hard rock, bluesy-ish metal band that happened to come around at the same time as these hair metal bands, and maybe just got lumped in with the scene. So, Def Leppard is awesome, but I wouldn't fully categorize them as hair metal, Damon.
Fair, and I'll go so far as to say that I think Hysteria is. Like, I feel like Pour Some Sugar on Me, and Love Bites, and what's the one? Well, now I want what? Ooh.
Animal.
Yeah. Like, I feel like those are more like leaning into the hair metal thing, whereas Pyromania, that was a rock album, and even before that, High and Dry. So I think they skimmed the surface of it. I think maybe I was a little liberal throwing them in there, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. We're all having fun here.
But I think they do get lumped into that, and maybe a little bit unfairly. Again, I think Hysteria is a hair metal album, but even Pyromania and High and Dry, I would say, like, and again, that's why it kind of was like you would hear them on like your local rocks channel who wouldn't play, Motley Crue, or they wouldn't be playing Poison, or they wouldn't be playing, like that was just unheard of. But they were a band that kind of broke through, and I think that helped them a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like the opposite of Quiet Riot. Like, they were also around at the start of the boom here and helped make it what it is, but they still got to ride the wave and enjoy the success and the spoils and still make it out relatively okay. Like, Steve Clark did die of an overdose, and Rick Allen did lose his arm. But today they're still Def Leppard. Like, they still have name value with the rock crowd today, and they can still tour and do pretty well for themselves. So yeah, good on Def Leppard. I'm glad they're still around, Damon.
Yeah, and I will say this: is it Phil Collin, the guitarist?
Yep.
He's the only person who is over the age of 50 who is allowed to be shirtless. Like, he's ripped. He's still ripped to this day. He would always have no shirt, and he's never worn a shirt, it feels like. I don't even think he's worn a shirt at his wedding. And, he's probably 60-some-odd-year-old guy who's ripped, and he could be shirtless.
Him, Billy Idol, and Iggy Pop.
Oh, yeah.
They'll get passes. They're all grandfathered in at this point. Yeah. It's fine, but
literally.
Oh yeah. All right. Similar to Def Leppard, my next pick helped usher in the hair metal boom without fully being hair metal himself. Because when you think of California, high energy, hard rock, women, big blonde hair, and a penchant for shenanigans, who else but Diamond David Lee Roth? This is his first solo album since leaving Van Halen, Eat 'Em and Smile, and this song is called Shy Boy.
Till my personality starts improving.
So the $1 million question, how the hell do you follow being in Van Halen? How do you follow being in a band with maybe the greatest guitar player of all time? Well, you get Steve Vai, going too shabby on the guitar himself. You get Billy Sheehan of the future Mr. Big on bass, who wrote this song, and you get Greg Bissonette on drums. I mean, that's a pretty killer solo band right there. And Ted Templeman is producing it, who produced all of the DLR Van Halen albums. So you've got all of the ingredients for just a wild, fun, manic album. And this is pretty manic. Like, there's fast-paced rockers like this, Yankee Rose, which was the big hit, Going Crazy, Elephant Gun. You have a song like Ladies' Night in Buffalo, which is this classic, like, sultry Dave, where he slows it down. He does a cover of That's Life by Frank Sinatra. So, it's typical Dave. It's all over the place. But it's great. And it's funny. Before he left Van Halen, he put out that covers EP, Crazy from the Heat. And he's doing California Girls and I'm Just a Gigolo and Everywhere I Go. Humala bumala zimala bumala hum. It's like, is Dave going full pop here? But with Eat 'em and Smile, he reminds us, no, I'm still a rock god, with that classic Diamond Dave wink and a smile there, Damon.
It was an amazing time because, I mean, they're coming right off of 1984, which, arguably is their most popular album. They have radio hits, MTV airplay, sold out concerts. Like, they kind of cross over into not only all the guys loving Van Halen, for all the reasons why guys would love Van Halen, but now the girlfriends are, okay. Oh, and there's David Lee Roth with a sock in his pants. It was a weird time to end that, right? For him, for all of them to be like, you know what, I don't like working with you, and you know what, guess what, I don't like working with you. I'm going to do my thing. And he does. He starts that solo thing, and okay. So I'm not working with Eddie Van Halen. Okay, then let me get 1A. When it came to 80s rock. I mean, aside from, like, people might argue like Yngwie Malmsteen or whatever, but Steve Vai was it. And maybe even like Dweezil Zappa, but all of them were influenced by Eddie. But he just kind of picked up where Van Halen trajectory, you would think. He just picked up the ball and ran with it that way, where Van Halen picks up Sammy Hagar, and they kind of go into a little bit more, still rock, but a little bit more adult contemporary rock, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I recommend people like, Roth era Van Halen, check out those first two albums of his solo-wise, this and Skyscraper, because they have the same lineup. I'll also recommend people not listen to the Spanish language version of this album, Sonrisa Salvaje, Wild Smile, which is the whole album sung in Spanish.
Oh.
And apparently it was Billy Sheehan's idea to capitalize on the 18 to 27 market in Mexico who would buy records. So Shy Boy becomes Timido, Going Crazy becomes Loco del Color, Ladies' Night in Buffalo becomes Noche de Ronda en la Ciudad, and big shocker, it didn't work, Damon. Apparently the fans were not too crazy on the Gringo Spanish, as it was termed, from David Lee Roth there. But hey, look, it's very much a David Lee Roth thing to do, is sing the whole album in Spanish. Why not, Damon?
Why not, right? I mean, at that point, I felt like he could do just about anything, and the record company would write the check. So, swing and a miss from Dave. Wouldn't be, well, it wasn't his first, and it wouldn't be his last, that's for sure.
No. All right, Damon, what you got next for us?
All right, so power ballad time, kids. Grab your girl. Girls, grab your guy. It's time for Slow Jam. And so, again, this band is, it kind of feels weird to lump them into hair metal, like, because I truly believe they're just like a hard rock band. But I think what sets them apart is, again, the dynamic vocal range of their singer, Sebastian Bach. And this song, again, was just one of those songs that you just had to appreciate just because of the musicality, if that's the word. and again, the vocal range of this guy. It's Skid Row. The name of the song is I'll Remember You.
You said I love you, babe, without a sound. I said I'd give my life for just one kiss. I live for your smile and die for your kiss. Remember yesterday, welcome in hell. The love that I've seen said, I remember you. Until sleepless nights, through every endless day, I wanna hear you say, I remember you. We said our share of hard times, but that's the price we paid. And through it all, we kept the promise that we made. Well, I swear you never knew
I'm just amazed at the notes that dude could hit. And that song, again, it starts out slow, picks up, builds up, builds up. If I'm not mistaken, he has like some theater training, or I could be wrong, but like just amazing. Like just an amazing voice packed into such a small little guy.
Yeah, like I said earlier, a lot of these bands coming out of the gate swinging. The first Skid Row album has I Remember You, 18 in Life, and Youth Gone Wild. 3 big ones. And the crazy thing is, according to Sebastian Bach, this song almost didn't make the album.
Wow.
Because Snake Sabo and Rachel Bolan didn't want to be thought of as a chick band. But Sebastian and the record company convinced them to put it on the album. And yeah, that was a smart choice because it was a top 10 hit and probably helped sell a bunch more records there, Damon.
I saw them open up for Guns N' Roses back in the early 90s. And I was blown away. I was just, I like, again, this is before auto-tune. This is before pre-tape loops. And like, this guy is like at the top of his game every night. When, quite honestly, you're probably in the midst of debauchery every night. And how do you take care of your voice while you're on tour with the Guns N' Roses, all people? But yeah, he sounded great. The band sounded great. And they blew Guns N' Roses out of the water that night. But that's a story for another time.
Mm-hmm. The wild thing is, this album didn't go to number 1, which is number 6. But the next album is Slave to the Grind, which was a number 1 album in July of 91, which is, very much the end of the hair metal run. Like, because after that, you've got Van Halen and Def Leppard, who still get to number 1. But everything else is Metallica, it's Garth Brooks, it's Whitney Houston, it's Guns N' Roses, it's Billy Ray Cyrus. So Skid Row, managed to really get one last gasp in there before the end, Damon.
Yeah. 89, 90 was really a weird time because, right, you still had a lot of pop stuff and crossover stuff, but like you knew the tide was turning. You really did. And you knew it in like, just again, popping on MTV, which everybody did all the time. And you could just kind of feel the tide turning and less of Skid Row and more of, Alice in Chains or Stone Temple Pilots or whatever, was just coming out then. So you could feel it, and I think everyone could too. But yeah, I think this song just killer. I love it. I love this song.
Yeah, really good stuff there. All right, so we talked about how with Cinderella, how some of these bands change their style and grow out of the hair metal phase into something else. Well, this is a band that changed their style into hair metal and adopted the look and aesthetic to go with the times. In the 70s, they used to wear face paint and call themselves the Demon and the Star Child and so forth. But now it's the 80s, baby, and it's a brand new era for Kiss in more ways than one. This is from their 84 album Animalize, and this is the big single Heaven's on Fire.
I got a fever raging in my heart. You make me shit.
can take the makeup off Kiss, you can put them in spandex and fishnets and zebra print. You can change the lineup and bring in Eric Carr on drums and Mark St. John on guitar, but it's still Kiss. You're still going to get lines like, I got a fever raging in my heart, you make me shiver and shake, baby, don't stop, take it to the top, eat it like a piece of cake. I mean, that's essential Kiss right there, no matter the era. But in all seriousness, I do actually enjoy this song. It's very silly, but it's Kiss. Like, that's the deal. And like a lot of people, I know more 70s Kiss songs than 80s Kiss songs, but they still had hits. Like Lick It Up, Crazy Crazy Nights, Tears Are Falling. Like, getting rid of the makeup and leaning into the glam metal look and the sound, that was a very smart move on their part. I mean, they're not the most handsome guys around, mind you, but it kept them relevant in a lot of ways, Damon.
They are pro wrestling. And they found ways to, when things were cooling off for them, to flip the script and get new life out of that band. Look, I still am a Kiss fan. Back growing up as a kid and getting those albums, Kiss Alive 2 is still one of my favorite albums. I like Ace Frehley. I wanted to be Ace Frehley. And then you kind of move on to different genres and different worlds and whatever, but it always seemed like Kiss was there. Now, in the 80s, was I as big a fan? In the 70s? Probably not. Like Lick It Up and it was Tears Are Falling. Was that there? Was that around that time too? That didn't really hit me as much as, like, you know, one song that I was going to put on here was Strutter, and Andrew was like, we did Strutter a couple weeks ago. You can't do Strutter, but love Strutter. King of the Nighttime World and Ladies Room. But again, their lyrics are like a 12-year-old who found his first Playboy, right? But the hooks and the melodies and the songs, I you know, maybe it's just because it stuck with me when I was a kid and it's just brings back those memories. Maybe that's it. But I really think that they're really great pop songs in there, with nonsense lyrics, to be quite honest. But yes, any version of Kiss, whether it's Ace, whether it's Vinnie Vincent, whether it's Eric Carr, whether it's Kulik, or you name it, there's always something there for me. And as I kind of stare up at my desk in my office that I'm looking at, I have a Kiss lunchbox staring, looking at me. So it's always going to be there with me. And good call on the Kiss.
Thanks. Yeah, it's the only album with Mark St. John on guitar. He replaced Vinnie Vincent, and he and the rest of the band did not get along very well, so he got fired afterwards. And then years later, he went to jail. And he was, like, brutally attacked by a group of inmates.
Nope.
Apparently he snitched on someone, and that was a big no-no. And he died a few months later. So he's got a very wild story. But the guy who replaced him in Kiss is Bruce Kulick. And he was there for, like, 12 years until the reunion with Ace and Peter. So yeah, that late 70s to mid-80s period of Kiss is a pretty tumultuous and change-heavy time for the band, in terms of the look, in terms of the sound, and in terms of members, especially ones that aren't named Paul or Gene there, Damon.
Yeah, it was. I remember when Peter left the band and they debuted Eric Carr. It was on this show, like, I think it's called, like, Kids Are People 2 or like Real People or something like that. But it was like very early 80s or even like late 79 or something like that. And they brought Eric Carr out. But yeah, I mean, if you were a kid growing up, like in the late 70s, like a kid, like grade school kid, like you were just like, what? These are superheroes. And what? And they're like, what is happening? And why is there fire and blood? And it's very easy to hook you in. And of course, you know, for Christmas, you're asking for every Kiss album you possibly get your hands on. So, you know, look, they're pro wrestling. They are pro wrestling. I want to say before pro wrestling, but they knew the ways of pro wrestling. Everything from, hey, you're not going to see a photo of them without their makeup, and then finally revealing who they really are, and they're, you know, on MTV. And then when that dries up, it's hey, let's put the makeup back on and get back together. All right. So they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, for sure. And R.I.P. Eric Carr as well.
Yes.
He was a damn good drummer, and he died way too young from cancer. But R.I.P. to him. But all right, Damon, what's your second to last pick here?
Speaking of Kiss, so back in the day, in the early 80s, this band hits the scene, and you're like, ooh, this is what Kiss could have been or is, or they're influenced by, because you could see they were wearing their influences on their sleeve. And then fast forward, into like the very early 2000s, I had to get surgery, and I needed a catheter of all things for this surgery. And what goes in must come out, Andrew. And it was like 2:00 in the morning, and I had my iPod, and the nurse who came in was like, all right, we're gonna take it out. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up all over myself. This is gonna hurt. She's like, nope, I'm a pro. I was like, well, listen, let me just put on my earbuds, and then don't tell me, just fucking do it. And I just randomly put on a song, and it was this song. And she was an ace. She just right on out. I didn't feel a thing. It just felt like almost like a little roller coaster almost. And I'll never forget her, that nurse who did a great job taking out my catheter after my surgery. But this song, every time I hear it, it brings me right back to that hospital room. It is Motley Crue. It is Looks That Kill. Andrew, what do you think they mean by she keeps her motor clean? I think you want to be talking about what they be. Again, all these bands have a common denominator, and that is as we can affectionately call it, the Midnight Express theory of every guy wants to be them, every girl wants to be with them. And that was them. They were the coolest thing. They were just like the party band, they're going to drink a fifth of Jack Daniels and blast out Looks That Kill. And they made that. Well, the first album was Shout at the Devil. And then again, after that, it was Theater of Pain was next. And then Dr. Feelgood.
Shout at the Devil was the second album.
Okay, right.
Too Fast for Love was the first album.
Right. There you go. But again, you could just see them just getting bigger and bigger every album. And then they just became massive. And then they imploded, like all good rock bands should.
Yeah, Shout at the Devil is probably my favorite Crue album as a whole. Either that or Dr. Feelgood, because it just has a bunch of bangers on it. Looks That Kill, the title song, Too Young to Fall in Love, Knock 'em Dead Kid. Their cover of Helter Skelter is really good too. That's the thing, like, for all of the hair and the makeup and whatnot, Motley Crue, they still had a rawness about them in those early days, like in terms of the sound, in terms of the satanic elements. Like the original album cover for this has a pentagram on it, and then with Theater of Pain, that's when we get Home Sweet Home and Smoking in the Boys' Room, and they lean into the hair metal and glam metal more, which led to others following their lead, I think, Damon.
Yeah. I think every video off that first, or that, the Shout at the Devil had a pentagram. Every video had some type of satanic reference. And then they just took off from there. And trust me, they were massive. Like Home Sweet Home was massive. It was played at every high school dance, every. And again, it was one of those things where if you were a guy in your late teens, early 20s, you were like, oh, yeah, that looks like the life. That's for me. And, if you're, in that age range and you're a young lady, you might be looking at, oh, those guys are cute and they look like a fun time and, all that. So, yeah, that was like the sweet spot. Like to me, they were like the quintessential hair metal band. And made the most of it. And for every one, they're like the Terry Funk of music. I mean, they retire, it seems like every other year.
Yeah.
And then they're back. I think they're touring now. They're touring again. So John 5. But yeah, it's, they're going to milk it for all it's worth. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I imagine it's a lot tamer nowadays backstage than it was back in the good old days. Because an 80s Motley Crue show backstage, I mean, Jesus, the level of debauchery and drugs and alcohol and women, it must have been like a Roman Bacchanal back there, just insane. And it's amazing. I mentioned earlier, the casualties of that kind of lifestyle. It's amazing how those guys aren't dead. They're all still alive. I mean, Mick Mars isn't in the band anymore because he's too sick. His arthritis or whatever.
Yeah.
His bad back or whatever. But to have all 4 original guys still be alive despite drinking and snorting and shooting up and ingesting every single thing under the sun, it's pretty incredible, Damon.
Well, according to Nikki Sixx's book, like he died. Like he was dead.
Yeah, the Heroin Diaries. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't get any harder than that, than being flatlined. But yeah. Yep. All right. I know we're running press for time. But take over.
All right. My second to last pick, it would feel wrong to not include not just one of the biggest glam metal bands of all time, one of the biggest bands of all time, period. And I will let Mr. Danny DeVito tell us who it is.
So, Mr. Reynolds, you're interested in buying our arena football team?
Big time. But I want to do business with Mr. Von Joni himself.
Bon Jovi.
Yeah, Mr. Bovine Joni himself.
Yes, it's the Kings of New Jersey, not named Springsteen or Sinatra. It's Bovine Joni, Bon Jovi. And this is from their massive third album, Slippery When Wet. And it's probably my favorite song of theirs. This is Wanted, Dead or Alive.
Sometimes I sleep, sometimes it's not for days. The people I meet always go their separate ways. Sometimes you tell the day by the bottle that you drink. Times when you're alone, all you do is think. I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, head of the line. Wanted, head of the
Yeah, that song is fantastic. I've heard Living on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name a bajillion times, and I like those songs, but even I'm a little sick of them at this point. But I hear that melody, do, and I'm like, you still got me, damn it. You still got me. It's Cowboy Bon Jovi before Young Guns 2.
Yeah.
Before Blaze of Glory. Comparing being a rock star on the road to being an outlaw on the run in the Old West. I walk these streets, a loaded 6-string on my back. I play for keeps because I might not make it back. It's just a cool vibe. The funny thing is, a song about life on the road, the Slippery When Wet tour was like over a year long. They toured this album nonstop, and the album was such a juggernaut that when Bon Jovi started the tour, they were opening for like Priest and 38 Special, and then halfway through they become headliners, just like that. And by the end, they're the biggest band in the world. Like, yeah, so the Steel Horse ride was just getting started for these guys, Damon.
They were massive. Like, they were massive, and this was the song that kind of just over the top put them like into a different stratosphere. Again, it's their take on the Bob Seger song, on the road again. But it's their take of it. That's at that time their modern take. And it was just, and the video too, it was all shot in black and white, and there's backstage footage, and it's kind of like, it's not all cocaine and champagne. Just the kind of the grind of the road promoting the album, and it connected on so many different levels. Like, it was just like there are times when bands and songs just like everybody has it, and Noel Gallagher has said famously, you don't really make it until you connect with the squares. Like, you get mainstream. And this song was just it for them. And I'm not saying that they wrote it, because they had many massive albums after that and many massive songs after that. But like, this was the rocket ship proverbially strapped to their back, and away they went.
Mm-hmm. And another band that grew out of their glam metal roots. Because the first, handful of Bon Jovi albums are in that vein. Bon Jovi, 1700 Degrees Fahrenheit, Slippery When Wet, and New Jersey.
Runaway.
Yep, Runaway. That was the first single. But, once again, along come the 90s.
Yeah. And
they become more straightforward rock, to the point where nowadays they don't play any songs from the first two albums, except for Runaway. That's the only one they play still to this day. Everything else is just Slippery When Wet forward. And they made the right choice, because they had a bunch more hits afterwards. Keep the Faith, and It's My Life, Have a Nice Day, We Weren't Born to Follow. So, Bon Jovi, they've lasted in the spotlight a lot longer than so many of their contemporaries, Damon.
Yeah, the song always reminds me of karaoke, Tokyo, Japan. It's probably 2 a.m, rocked off my ass off of Strong Zeros, and me and 2 friends from Australia who came to the show, and might have been one other person, and we're just singing Wanted Dead or Alive, and I'll never forget. Like, that song always takes me back to that karaoke bar in Tokyo, of all places. All right, I know this is my last one, but before I give it, again, I love doing this show, Andrew. I appreciate it. Congratulations on 9 years. Excellent job. And anytime you call, I'm there, because I just love talking music and talking with you about it. This is my last one. This one is a little bit outside the box, I feel like, only because I can't pronounce the band's name. I know it's the name of the last name of the singer, and I believe it's called Giuffria, Giuffrii. And I remember the song back in the day, and it's just like, again, the vocal range on the guy, I think it barely scrapes the hair metal scene. I think this is maybe even more pop, but they were lumped into hair metal. I love the song. I think it's beautiful. I think the guy's voice is unbelievable. It's called Call to the Heart.
Can I ever live without you, girl? Get back on my feet again. Now I'm lost in your world. When there's no simple way to let you go, you've been such a bother.
again, it's dripping with cheese. It's dripping with like my wife rolls her eyes every time she hears like this is the corniest fucking song. I love it. I don't care. This will take me back to an 80s slow dance time, and you're all awkward and you're just trying to, I don't know, do things right. And this song reminds me of that, of being awkward and seeing the cute girl and shooting your shot, and holy shit, it worked. So that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, this is the one band on your list that I had never heard of before. Yeah, like you, I didn't know how to say the guy's name, but I looked up Greg Giuffria or whatever it is. He was in the band Angel, who I do know because of the song Tower. He's the guy who plays keyboards in that. This is a bit different than that song, but I like it. And it just goes to show that even when you have a song that was a hit, this went to number 15, that doesn't mean it will endure. Even someone like me, who is a total nerd who knows a lot of older music, I didn't know this song, Damon. I had never heard of it before.
Well, I mean, that might be a good thing. But it's just, again, it's oozing with cheese, but I don't know. There's just something I love about it. I like the hook of the chorus. I like the vocal range. Again, it builds and builds and builds and builds to a final crescendo. And again, maybe it doesn't necessarily even fit into the hair metal mode, but I think it rode the final wave of it, and yeah, I dig it. I love it. I actually do. I love it. It brings back a lot of memories.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to bring up the singer because I was listening to this song and thinking, that voice sounds familiar. Where do I know it from? And I was bowled over by this. The singer is a guy named David Glenn Isley. He did a song in the late 90s called Sweet Victory, which was used in a production library, but it became very famous when a TV show called SpongeBob SquarePants used it.
Wow.
In the episode Band Geeks. The episode is about the characters forming a band to play the halftime show at this big football game, and this is the song that they play.
Don't ever look back on the world closing in. Be on the attack with your wings on the wind. All the things will begin. And it's sweet, sweet, sweet victory. Yeah. And it's ours for the taking. It's ours for the fight.
Oh my God, that's oh my God.
It became iconic for an entire generation of people. Like, I guarantee you, every millennial listening to this just jumped out of their seat. So you never know how these things can just shake out there, Damon. These connections that form.
You were the greatest. You were the greatest. How did you find that? That is fantastic. I'm blown away. Holy shit. You're the best. You're the greatest.
I try my best. But all right, my last pick, this is the only song of the episode that isn't from the 80s. It's from 2010, and it's from Norway. This is a band called Wigwam, and you may not know the name, but if you watched season 1 of Peacemaker with John Cena, you will know this song. This is off of the album Nonstop Rock and Roll, and this is Do You Wanna Taste It?
Do you really wanna taste it? Make a move extreme. Shortcut to your dream. A road straight to the stars on that flying thing. Getting high. Getting snowblind games. Make a tune, chick-a-boon in the world beyond. Got a beat, got a heat on the phone string. Tear your world apart. Once the magic starts. Do you really wanna taste it? What's going on must come down. Do you really wanna taste it? Baby, I'm losing ground. You soon become the mirror eyes. The whole what's wrong with you. Dancing with your blinkers on. For your dog, the invisible bone.
So the Peacemaker soundtrack is loaded with hair metal because Peacemaker, the character, loves it. So James Gunn picked all of these hair metal songs. And the opening credits is the cast of the show doing a choreographed dance to this song. And the first time I watched it, I was like, this is pretty weird. Like, what are these lyrics? Afloat straight to the stars on that flying thing. Pick a tune, chick harpoon in a world beyond. Throw your dog the invisible bone. But by episode 4, I was like, this is the greatest song ever. And I wasn't alone because there are so many comments online that are like, I never skip the opening credits. I love it so much. Because it gets in your head. It's so damn catchy. And then with season 2, James Gunn replaced it with a different song, Oh Lord by Foxy Shazam. And everybody was like, oh man, I miss Wigwam. This sucks. And then by episode 4, everyone was like, this song's amazing. Oh my god. So, yeah, James Gunn knows how to pick them there, Damon.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I love, current things that kind of harken back to older times, as an old man would say. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Oh, what a great pick. I love doing your show, dude. I love doing this. I was so excited to get the text. I was so excited to make my list. Things, should I put that one on or should I go here? And again, always a joy. You had the best idea for a show. No wonder it lasted 9 years. And again, I truly appreciate it. I always have a blast doing this.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that because it can be hard to do this show, not just in terms of editing and producing, but just in terms of like coming up with a song list. It can be difficult because when you sent me your list of songs and bands, like I said, I don't go too deep with hair metal, so we shared a lot of the same bands.
Right.
And I had to find some other songs to go with here so we didn't double up. But Wigwam I had on my original list. I had these guys slotted already. And I looked up more of their stuff. They have a real comedic bent to them. They actually made it to the Eurovision Song Contest back in 2005. They came in 9th place. And Peacemaker, I mean, this was such a big deal for them because it led to this career resurgence. And a few years ago, they actually got to tour the U.S. for the first time and play the Whiskey A Go-Go, which was a dream gig for them. So it's a really nice story there, Damon.
Yeah, it is pretty rad. It is pretty cool how that works out. All right, nice job by you, as always. Is there a song that you wish was on your list that didn't quite make it? One song?
Let's see here. I mentioned I picked Stage Fright for Def Leppard. I picked Unskinny Bop for Poison. My Motley Crue song was Livewire, which I like a lot. That's a great song. I also thought about picking The Darkness for another contemporary glam metal band there. But yeah, man, this was fun, Damon. This was a lot of fun. I'm a little woozy, perhaps, from all of the hairspray fumes. But no, this was great, man. This was a great time as always. You always bring the goods. You always bring the heat, as they say. And I'm glad you were here with me on this anniversary show. It was a celebration for the ages, Damon, so thank you.
Awesome. Yep, just pick up the phone. Let me know. I'm in, as always. Always an awesome time. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And a big thank you to everyone out there, of course, for listening to and supporting the show for all these years, whether you've been listening to it since the beginning of the show in the original format, or you hopped on with the remix format, or you've only heard this one episode, whatever it may be. I really thank you for listening to the show. We have a small but mighty audience, as I say, and I'm very, very grateful to anyone who listens, and grateful to everybody at Voices of Wrestling as well, for sure. So, Damon, any plugs you want to give? Go right ahead.
Well, yep, it's the Super J Cast. You know it. We'd like to talk New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can hit us up. I know we're on all the socials. Joel usually takes care of all that. I'm not good at that kind of stuff. But Patreon, we got Patreon/SuperJcast. $10 gets you all kinds of juicy nuggets, good details. We got a lot of connections. It'll give us a lot of information. So, yep, if you get in your wallets and you want to do that, by all means. But we do a show every week that's free to the public. And, yeah, there you go. Super J-Cast, kids.
All right, Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. That's where you can find the Super J-Cast and other great shows. Voicesofwrestling.com, previews, reviews, articles, We've got Match of the Year going on right now, which is pretty cool. Blue Sky at Music of the Mat and at Just Andrew on Blue Sky. If you want to leave a comment about this episode, share your picks, voicesofwrestling.com/Discord. It's also where I post the Spotify playlist for each episode. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your podcast player of choice, and leave a nice rating and review. Alright, so the playout song for today. I played something from Edelman's Smile earlier, which was produced by Tim Templeman. He also produced this band called Bullet Boys. This is off of their self-titled debut album. This is Smooth Up In Ya. Thanks again, Damon.
Thank you, sir.
Smooth up in ya. Mama, whoa. I know you really wanna move me. You know I'd like to see you try. I said before and I'll say it again. You're not my type if you don't give in. Looks like yours are hard to find. I ain't got that kind of time. Rocks and shivers. Smooth up in ya. Smooth up in ya.
Music of the Mat is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. The songs used throughout this show are property of their respective copyright holders.
Hi, I'm Andrew Rich, and if you're like me, you look at the state of modern wrestling discourse and think, wow, what a cesspool. That's why I'm here to tell you about Music of the Mat Remix. That's right, your favorite wrestling music podcast is back with a new format, where I bring on a guest and we play songs related to wrestling-themed topics. It could be a wrestling reference, a wrestling concept, a wrestling pun, things of that nature. Now you might be saying, Andrew, that is a very, very tenuous connection to pro wrestling on a wrestling podcast network. Is this just an excuse to hang out with your friends and talk about music and ignore the rest of the wrestling landscape? Yes. Yes, it is. So listen to Music of the Mat Remix on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on Apple, Spotify, or your podcast player of choice.
Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is, how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.